Surely the owner of a large estate with pigs, chickens, cattle, draught horses, a lake with fish, game in the woods, and an extensive kitchen garden need not bother with rations at all. Yet collect them she did. They were her due as well as her cover. At each stop, those queuing stood aside, each uttering a perfunctory Heil Hitler. This while the owner led her to a discreet corner. Such preferment embarrassed Elisabeth, yet any attempt to take a place in the queue brought forth a much deeper level of inaudible disapproval. Not even a die-hard Nazi wife or housekeeper, and Graunitz had its share of such people, thought it fitting the wife of the local nobleman should behave like an ordinary mortal. On the transfer of coupons, her rations were produced: tinned sausages and stringy bacon from Denmark, a tiny portion of beef, lentils, pearl barley, and rough bran-like bread, which seemed to contain less and less wheat. There was no butter, fruit, few vegetables other than turnips and potatoes, ersatz coffee and dried milk powder, which, when opened, had a grey colour. The larger allowances were barely enough to feed her, the children, her father, and those servants too old for war service. The provisions for her Polish prisoners, forced to do heavy manual labour, were less by half. Discreet conversations ensued, shopkeepers whispering what illicit goods they could sell or hoped to acquire, while Elisabeth advised them of what the estate could trade in return, any bargains being sealed on the nod. Her bag was filled before being carried to the large basket on the front of the bicycle. Again, no one objected. They too, and they understood very well what was going on, would hope there would be something to buy, in cash or kind, the little extras which made life bearable in such straitened times. Elisabeth pushed a bicycle, now too heavy to ride, towards the tobacconist, her last stop of the morning. Once there, a good half of what she'd collected as her official rations was exchanged. English or Canadian cigarettes for her, and, if she was lucky, pipe tobacco from Sweden for her father. The normal allowance, German cigarettes of poor quality, she took for the Polish workers. Given their lack of entitlement to any, they would be grateful. Intending to head out of the square, she was accosted by Ortsbauernführer Reimann, the party official responsible for local farm output. She'd covered her basket with an old tablecloth, not that an unctuous little toad like him would dare to insist on a look. After the ritual greeting of a stiff-armed salute, he was off on his perennial subject, the state of production on the von Trecheim estate, by far the largest in his area of responsibility. "We must increase the yields this year, Gräfin. The nation needs more food." "I lack the fertilizers to do so, Herr Reimann, as we have previously discussed." The word blockade hung unspoken in the air. No German vessel stood a hope in hell of getting to and from places like Chile to bring back fertilizer, nor could the chemical giants like Dyer make up the shortfall, a too unpatriotic fact to mention to this minion. Raimann's thumbs were jammed into the polished leather belt which encased his pot belly, and, feet spread, he sought to replicate a pose much favoured by Adolf Hitler. "Our men are fighting on all fronts, as is your husband. It is up to us to fight equally hard. Your Polish labourers